has existed for over 200 years, is and has been a primary road serving the area and its citizens. North of the bridge has seen extensive residential growth over the past 25 years and will continue to grow. South of the bridge is also a growth area, and the old Elk Neck Road Bridge joins Maryland 272 Turkey Point Road, being the primary road to the Elk Neck State Park, Rodney Scout Camps, North Bay, Sandy Hill Conference Center, Chesapeake Isle, residential areas, and historic Arts United Methodist Church. I'll just tell you about Arts. We've been around for 219 years, and we're known for our amphitheater and the activities that we have there, and also the fact that we've had Easter sunrise services there for 64 consecutive years. The shortest ride, distance, and time from Elkton area to the south side of the Elk Neck Road of Elk Neck is via the old Elk Neck Road. From US 40, the official beginning of the old Elk Neck Road, just west of Elkton, distance to the bridge is 7.7 miles. Bridge closure has adversely affected Hart's church attendance and ready access to its activities. There is now a new Northeast Fire Company substation located just 1 mile from the bridge, which was built specifically to help provide emergency services to the entire Elk Neck area. As a team member with Singerly Fire Company of Elkton, I understand that the Northeast Fire Company and the Singerly Fire Company have both provided written support for replacing the bridge. Also this evening I got a copy from Charlestown Fire Department that said that they also support it, and these 3 companies support this area as a team. Safety is a very important reason for replacing the bridge. On October the 16th, 2012 at 2:30 p.m., Maryland Route 272 was shut down for over 3.5 hours due to a serious accident near the Elk Neck substation. School buses could not take children to their homes and had to return children back to school until the road reopened. No traffic could enter or the area south of the accident, and a traffic backlog ensued, causing problems for many people. The Maryland State Police investigated this fatal accident since it occurred on a state highway. The Maryland State Police Northeast Barrack has stated the need and support for a replacement bridge on the old Elk Neck Road. During the weekend in March 2013, there were 2 separate fires along that same road that shut down ring. Just this afternoon, there was a major ambulance call down there just north of where the bridge is out, and Northeast Fire Company had to come all the way around rather than just being 1 mile away from it. From McKinneytown Road on 272 on the Elk Neck Road intersection, distance of 2 points, there is no alternate road to enter or exit Elk Neck. This is not simply a convenience problem. Ladies and gentlemen, it is a potential serious safety problem. The old Elk Neck Road has been closed for over 8 years. Replacement planning design work by professional Cecil County engineers has been ongoing and is placed high on the priority list. The bridge is in Elk Neck's is in Cecil County 2014 proposed budget. It is long overdue. It is time to replace the bridge. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Joan Fettig and Sharon Rosenberg.
My name
Just hold it.
That doesn't count on your time, Joe.
No, I'm watching that clock. How's that? There you go. Hi, my name is Joan Ferrick. I live at 101 Colville Road, Northeast Maryland. And I want to discuss the need for the rebuilding of the old Elk Neck Road Bridge. Hurricane Sandy could have hit us as severely as it did New York City, Staten Island, and the state of New Jersey, especially the shore areas that we've all seen on TV. We were fortunate as it hit land further north. We are all well aware of the path of destruction that Sandy left in its wake. It's time for decision-making and action concerning the rebuilding of this bridge. It is totally ridiculous that an area of approximately 4,000 plus inhabitants and vehicles would have only one route out to safety along 272, which runs through a state park and a state forest. There are lots of very tall trees along that road. There's lots of impending disastrous possibilities. Lots of vehicles and foot passengers along that one road. 8 years ago, that bridge came down in a storm. It has yet to be rebuilt. This was also called Pig Lady Bridge, a one-lane bridge. You had to honk your horn to alert other cars on the opposite side of the bridge that you were planning on crossing the bridge. But I don't want to go into that. That was then and this is now. We need a two-lane bridge that will safely transport the approximately 4,000 plus people and cars across to safety and into the town of Elkton and to Union Hospital if needed. And we need that bridge now. Where are all these people coming from? Let me tell you where. On August 20th, 2012, I presented a petition to the then current commissioners for the rebuilding of the bridge. It was signed by 566 people. I'm resubmitting a copy of this petition for the information of the new commissioners. Also included is a spreadsheet of the number of people from Route 272 that would have to cross that new bridge to safety if the situation warrants it. Remember, this alternate route was ours 8 years ago and proves our absolute need for the rebuilding of this bridge. There are many concerns regarding the need for rebuilding the bridge. Examples: October 2012, a tragic accident on Route 272 resulting in the death of a pedestrian crossing the road. The road had to be closed down for 3.5 hours. This blocked traffic from entering or exiting the lower part of Elk Neck Peninsula. This happened as school was letting out for the day. The Department of Transportation for Cecil County Public Schools had to turn the high school and middle school buses around and could not even load the Northeast Elementary School buses. Passengers in the cars already on 272 remained with their cars for 3.5 hours. No alternate route, no way to get out. Fires, March 8, 2013. 2 homes close to the substation on 272 burned down, totally destroyed. Many of our neighboring firehouses responded to the alarm, as well as the Northeast Firehouse. They all had to come up 272. Naturally, traffic was stopped. Again, no alternate route in or out, nowhere to go. Rebuilding a bridge puts victims of strokes or heart attack 15 minutes closer to Union Hospital when time is imperative. A life or death situation in the balance. We need a 2-lane bridge to accommodate the safety and well-being of approximately 4,000 people. It's a very dangerous situation that must be rectified, a necessity for the safety of all. And I see I have a little more time, so I'm going to take advantage of it. One of the things I want to mention here, and I'll be giving you, some of the commissioners have this, but there are 2 commissioners, the new commissioners, who don't have it, so that's why I'm going to resubmit this. Just an example, Rodney Boy Scout Camp. I got my information from Rick Stridner, the Council Progress Director. 500 scouts every week, 150 scout leaders. Staff needed for these 650, 150 people on the staff. Total of 800 people would be there all year round. Okay? Sandy Hill Camp and Retreat Center. I got my information from the office manager, Diana Profin. The campers per week, 450 to 500 campers per week there. And a staff of 150 people. That's a total number of evacuees, 650. North Bay Adventure Camp. Lauren Walsh gave me the information. She's Human Resource Manager. 500 children there every week, and 128 people for a total of 628. There's more on this, but my time is up, but you'll read it. Okay? Thank you very much. I appreciate the time you gave me.
Sharon Rosenberg, and then Harold McCann.
name is Sharon Rosenberg. I reside in Northeast. I am president of the Cecil County Friends of the Library, and as such represent our 250 members and by extension the 50,000 library card holders. And I speak this evening on their behalf to ask you to fully fund the public library portion of Executive Moore's budget proposal. We appreciate the executive's acknowledgement of the importance of the library in our citizens' lives. Indeed, America's public libraries are the most democratic and patriotic institution in any community, meeting myriad needs of any citizen who enters, a total of 500,000 entries last year in Cecil County alone. When one considers the library's role in our communities, one sees access for all citizens. Access to books, e-books, audiobooks, newspapers, magazines, and music. Over 1 million items checked out at our 7 library branches last year. Access to computers and indeed free classes to learn to use the up-to-date technology. Support for entrepreneurs, small business owners, people seeking employment, and those changing careers. Free summer reading programs, which engaged 30% of our public elementary school students last year, and over 1,000 teenagers. Free programs which will begin again next month. Access to instruction on using those electronic devices, iPads, Nooks, and so on, which indeed are not always intuitive to us. Access to educational and cultural programs, such as the Smithsonian Journey Stories, or the One Maryland, One Book, Author for. All this and more uses just 2.5% of the county budget. These award-winning services and programs must be paid for in the annual county budget, however. Over the past few years, the library has managed through flat budgets, a 4% budget cut. They have cut positions, frozen them, managed to get more bang for the buck out of the hard-working staffs. They trimmed their material budget by 17%, but that meant a reduction in all of the items available for use by the public. It is evident to me, and I hope to the council, that the library budget should be funded in full. To cut a library budget in times of economic stress to citizens is like cutting hospitals during a plague. It is the opposite of what should happen. One cannot have an award-winning public library system as we do without rewarding the hard work of the staff in this budget proposal with 1.5 COLA, and without making renovations in the facilities to meet demands and replace outdated systems. Thus, please support Executive Moore's proposed library budget. Remember, if you fund it, they will come. If you don't, many will have no other place to turn.
Thank you. Harold Mechanic and then Joe Carabetta.
Good evening, council and ladies and gentlemen in the audience. Thank you for joining us this evening. I would like to speak on the budget. I'm sorry, Harold Mechanic, 694 McKinneytown Road, Elkton, Maryland. My wife and I are childless by choice. We would like to be considered as budget time. We do not burden the school system, yet are forced to fund what seems like endless Board of Education budget increases. Please keep us in mind when you request budget increases. We think we are typical when considering household budgeting and its shrinking availability. We don't think we are selfish, just reasonable, and simply ask for the same. Now I'd like to tie together tourism and the Department of Public Works, roads and bridges. If you try to get through Northeast on a Friday afternoon in season, why not provide an alternate route? Any alleviation would be appreciated by those stuck in traffic, and it gets bad. It gets all the way back to Route 40. I don't have to tell anybody who's been there. And would like to, and would probably encouraging revisiting instead of discouraging it. Thank you.
Joe Carabetta and then Diane Carabetta.
Good evening, county council and folks that are gathered here tonight. As we express our citizenship, there was a scout here earlier, but he left going for a citizenship badge. I think he's getting a good lesson here tonight. Well, as long as Harold started off with the school budget, we'll talk about that first and get that over with, get everybody mad at me in the room, and I really don't care. But I'm a product of public school education, and our schools do a darn good job. We've had the teacher of the year nearly get here in Cecil County. They do a good job. But they also taught me well in math. And I'm having some problems here with some of their math that's going on. I heard statements about that they're making cuts and stuff. Well, from 2000, and I want to thank the Cecil Way too for putting out this paper, Book of Facts. I really love it. From 2003, their employment was at 1,933. Today, it's 2,052. So that's increased. Now, over the same period, the student population has dropped from 16,535 down to 15,634. That's a 901 student drop. That's larger than any schools except for Perryville and Rising Sun High Schools, and that's just barely beats them. So really, the equivalent of one of our schools is disappeared, yet they keep asking for more and more money. I'd love to hear the explanations, but like I said, that was one thing they taught me well in school, is looking at numbers, and that may be, but there's definitely something wrong. Why we get more and more every year for less and less product? A business, if you get less and less product, you expect to pay less. Very simple. Okay, let's move on to the next subject, the sewer issue. The residents of this county, the current users of the system, should not be expected to fund and pay for future use that they will have no benefit. I heard what our Department of Public Works Director said, but he said the word many times, expansion. I heard it numerous times, expansion, expansion, expansion. That expansion should not fall on the shoulders of the users of the system. That was on the future users. We should only pay for the nutrient protection of the bay. And why do we want to put a system in that, by their own words, right here, disadvantages, higher initial construction costs, higher electric consumption, potential larger initial impact on rates and fees. Now, electric consumption. 50% of the electricity in this country comes from coal. So we're going to clean the bay by EMP, but we're going to dump a bunch of methyl mercury back in the bay by burning all this coal to produce electricity to do it. Doesn't make any sense. The current user should not have to pay. This rate study, when you study the papers, the consumption per customer is not even over the number of years. In FY13 is 0.06 million gallons per year per customer, but yet in the out years is 0.0625 million gallons per year. So we're holding down the revenue, showing the revenues down, but we're trying to justify increased costs on the citizens. The customers are increasing 38% by their own study, but the production's only increasing 28%. Doesn't add up. Doesn't pass the math test. We shouldn't have to pay for it. Let the users pay. I have some ideas to way to fund this thing. We can talk about, because the time isn't going to allow me to do that. As far as the landfill fees, I think that they need to be held in check, because all you're going to do is transfer the cost from one area to another. We're going to be picking more and more trash all over the roads, because people don't want to pay your high fees. Tires all over the roads, trash all over the roads, and this doesn't make sense to keep increasing these fees on the citizens. Remember when Ehrlich and O'Malley were running, and there was a big thing, a fee is a tax, all we're getting from Mrs. Moore is more taxes. She wants more all the time, and that's all this budget's doing, is taking more from the citizens, and they have less. You're just driving people out of the state. That's all it's happening. Thank you, and have a good evening.
Thank you. Diane Carabetta and Bill Manlove is next.
Good evening, Council. Thank you for the opportunity to speak on the budget. First, I did want to say, Diane Carabetta, Carpenter's Point, Perryville, Maryland. Sorry about that. I did meet with Craig, and he did attempt to send me the link. Unfortunately, he had an email that was missing the @ sign, and it didn't get up, so he did forward it to me, but I didn't get it in time to review it for tonight. but I do thank him, he made an attempt to get it to me, as promised. I'm not against paying my fair share I understand the enterprise funds and how they work. I do have severe issues with paying for Route 40 infrastructure, which Director Flanagan mentioned. I think that should be either funded as a whole of the county or by the people that will be looking into that infrastructure. I wanted to know about on page 7, the capital improvement plans. I see a lot of zeros in the first bunch of columns until we get down to Old Field Point and Old Elkneck area. And if those projects are completed and we're putting them off the list, or if they're just not popular this time, so they're not going to be addressed for the next at least 4 years. I'm all for the Elkneck Bridge. I very much hope that you will leave the turns. That was one of my favorite roads to race on. So I would love to do that again, down across that bridge and up around that bend. It was awesome. Hair-raising excitement. On the landfill, I had a couple of suggestions. Every time we buy tires, we pay a fee for tires, and that goes into a fund with Maryland Department of the Environment. I would humbly request that we approach MDE and try to get additional subsidy, if you will, for this fee we have already paid to keep the tire price low. The 3 things I noticed most dumped on the roads are tires, construction equipment, and sofas. While the sofas may be lovely, I have no intention of sitting next to the railroad track. So anything we can do to offset the cost for the things that people are dumping, and then we have to send out the roads department to pick up, and it actually costs us more, I would greatly appreciate. Seneca Point was built more than 20 years ago, and it's taken us 20 years to get at 1 million capacity. Currently, the infrastructure there is for 2 million. I realize there's some adjustments that would have to be made, but to build a nutrient plant that would manage up to 500 million gallons, is that what was talked about? 5 million gallons? 5 million gallons when it's taken us more than 20 years to get to 1 million gallons. It seems like we're going over the top with this development, and everything changes over time. Technology is going to change. They're going to come up with better, less expensive technology to deal with the nutrient. I suggest just going with the money that the state has already offered us, the $11 million, to fix the current problem, and wait for advanced technology to come through. Last year, $500,000 was borrowed from the rainy day fund, and there was a screaming match over about Happy Meals. This is 1 Happy Meal for every family. This year, we're looking at taking $4 million. That would be 8 times the amount, or 8 Happy Meals. And we are taking this in a county that has 8.8% unemployment, which is up over last year's rate from 8.6%, and I got that from the Labor Bureau Standards and Statistics. I think that we really need to consider what Stephanie talked about earlier with the suicide rate and people feeling hopeless, and every dime we take from the taxpayers to fund the government and to do other things that may not be absolutely necessary in this day and age. We need to consider what we're doing to families that are unemployed and other families, driving them into feelings of depression. And this is close to my heart because my brother felt that way. He felt like he couldn't survive, and he took his life at 43 years old. He was the best thing my family ever had. He was funny and talented and bright, but he felt hopeless. I'm asking you not to leave the people of Cecil County indebted further and feeling hopeless. Thank you.
Thank you. Bill Manlove and then Tamara Eldred.
Good evening, President Hodge, members of the council. Thank you for this opportunity to say a few words. It may come as a surprise to you, I'm going to speak on behalf of school. I understand probably as well as anybody here the strain that you're going under to do this budget, and I totally realize that every department in the county is important. but I would like to leave you with a couple of thoughts. Every person in this room benefits from education for their whole life. Each and every person in here probably remembers a teacher that inspired them, or they remember a class that they enjoyed and caught on, and throughout their life, that basic education has been what has gotten them to where they are or where they want to be. I urge you to support our budget that Terry Moore has presented. I agree with my superintendent of schools and the two members of the board that have spoken on the budget, so I won't speak further on that. But I urge you to support this education, and remember that education is probably the only department in the county that lasts you your whole lifetime. That money spent lasts a whole lifetime. And I also have to put a plug in for the libraries and the community college, because that's part of education as far as I'm concerned. Now then, each and every one of us here is on the television every day, the importance of education, and the fact that now, in order to get a livable job, you need 2 years of post-high school work. I think that if we can get better voc-tech school facilities, we will be able to steer people in the direction of jobs. And again, I ask you to consider that. The one thing that I'm disappointed in our budget is the fact that we still have to defer maintenance on too many projects. At some point in time, that's going to come back in county, and it's very costly. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Tamara Helbrecht, and then Chad Devon.
Tamara Holbrook, I live in the town of Rising Sun, Maryland. I moved to Cecil County when my boys were toddlers. Cecil County was a slice of heaven for me with its natural beauty and small town feel. But I raised my boys here in this community. As much as I loved living here, I became discouraged by the lack of community and general lack of so many things needed to be a healthy community. I love this community. I'm invested in it. I have raised my family here. I have been substitute teaching for over a decade. Worked with Parks and Rec as a program instructor. Started after-school programs to keep my kids active and busy and out of trouble, to volunteering in school activities and local organizations. For these experiences come some of my stories that I see on a regular basis. In our schools, I see a lack of space and resources to run effective classes and programs on an elementary, middle, and high school level. For example, 50 students in a small elementary school gym is not an effective area for PE, or jamming 30 middle school kids on a stage for a class of active learning is a recipe for limited effectiveness and unsafe. Add to this to a lack of funding to purchase good, safe equipment multiplies the problem and inhibits vision for quality. I see so much overcrowding at my local high school that students will not use their locker because it's literally unsafe to stop at your locker without being accidentally pushed. Besides, carrying around your backpack gives you a little more size. I see offices and closet space and portable classrooms put up all around the school. If you have a code red lockdown or weather emergency, these portables are like sitting ducks. Athletic and band programs have been affected negatively as resources have been limited for purchasing necessary equipment. Our band cannot even practice as a whole because the classroom is so small, so they must have 2 separate class times. In the athletic and fine arts arena, we struggle as a county, as many other counties have stronger Parks and Rec programs and resources. Many students in overcrowded schools who would like to participate are turned away as teams and coaches can only handle so many students effectively. And there are limited Parks and Rec programs on a county and town level. Needed improvements of maintaining of facilities and grounds continue to be pushed aside for greater needs. Science classes that should have labs lack the necessary labs, and teachers are forced to improvise with portable sinks or nothing at all. Worse yet, we cannot offer effective classes because we don't have a classroom where they can meet. Tennis courts look worse every year. Non-existent basketball courts, needed gyms, and field space to encourage healthy, active living are slim to none in this county. Many kids are falling through the cracks. It is sad to see so many kids just struggling to succeed. There are a variety of reasons for this, but more job training programs and caring individuals to work with them and mentor them would be helpful. We need a tech school of our own to help with overcrowding of schools and scheduling difficulties. But more importantly, we need a tech school that is able to train all those who need to be there and not turn them away. Students that need to get into tech school can't, and many will drop out of school and find more dysfunction that will cause greater need in the end for our county. There is a facility that was just recently sold that has more than enough growing room for a tech school and plenty of room for fields and so on. In our community, safety is an issue when biking and walking in this county are limited. No sidewalks in some communities where I drop kids off, and I know personally those who have been seriously injured riding their bike to work or school. Biking or walking should not be a high-risk activity. I have young families coming to the Cecil Arena to take programs, and they are asking me where they can find a paved path to ride with their families or park to have a play date, and it would take 45 minutes or longer drive to find that type of resource in some areas of this county. One solution just sits behind us and beside the Cecil Arena in Northeast. Here is a wonderful facility that has land all around it, and an overcrowded school right beside it, and a community that is growing with young families, and there are no more resources to develop it. Is our community working together to make this land usable for schools and community? There are plans for walking trails, bike paths, playgrounds, athletic fields, stadiums for bands to play, and athletes perform, but the resources are lacking. I hear many parents tell me discouragingly, well, I just can't wait for my kids to be done with school or done with Cecil County. Well, what if they decide to stay? These issues will now be affecting our grandchildren and generations to come. We need to invest in our community by supporting our good schools, develop parks and rec, encourage faith-based organization and good community programs, as well as businesses that will deepen our vision and make our county rich in character and community living. Unfortunately, these things cost money, time, effective leadership, and resources, but if we don't make this investment positively now, we will continue to see it enhance itself negatively in our community. I know all these problems do not rise and fall solely on you, but a lack of unity and excellence and accountability and leadership in these areas is a good place to start. So choose wisely, and thank you for your time.
Thank you. Chad, Devin, and then Armando Villamont.
Good evening. My name is Chad Devine. I live in Rising Sun. First, I'd like to thank the county and the executives for proposing a balanced budget. Maybe the federal government could take some notes from you guys. I'd like to thank the council for the opportunity to express my concerns in regards to the Cecil County 2014 proposed budget for Cecil County Public Schools. As a Cecil County resident, a taxpayer, and a parent of a child attending Rising Sun High School, I would like to appeal to the council to support the proposed budget and to consider additional funding for some of the critical needs of the Rising Sun High School. Some of these needs include overcrowding. As with the last resident, I've been to that school to pick up my daughter and been there during lunchtime and been there during times, excuse me, during class changes, and you literally cannot stand in the hallway. And that's no exaggeration that the kids cannot even open their lockers during the class changes. The school at one time had 5 lunch periods in order for the kids to be able to get lunch because the cafeteria is so small. That school has not 1, not 2, not 3, not 4, not 5, but 12 portable trailers to be able to fit the kids in there. That is, as a parent, that is a serious safety concern to me, and it ought to be to you guys if you have children that go to public school. If there ever is a code red, as the last resident mentioned, which I hope that there's not, those trailers are not very secure. Additionally, as you're aware, or maybe you're not aware, but last year we had something called the ratio that came through, and we increasingly are experiencing more and more storms. And as you know, those types of portable trailers are not very secure and not very safe. The Rising Sun High School has converted 3 of their classrooms into science classes. And in these 3 classes, these are science classrooms, there's no running water, there's no sinks, and there's no counter space. I don't know how you can teach biology or chemistry or science in a classroom without running water, without sinks, and without counter space. I don't know how we can, as a resident of Cecil County, and you as a Cecil County board members, county council members, can, in good conscience, allow that kind of thing to happen. to our children. They deserve to have an opportunity to be educated. The sports fields in Rising Sun High School are really deplorable. Days after the rains, you cannot use the fields because they're so wet. The tech school is so small that they have to be very, very selective for the kids that get in there, and you really have to have excellent grades. And unfortunately, not every kid excels academically, so many of the kids that need it the most are not able to get selected for those type of tech schools. I'd like to bring your attention to, and I'm sure that you're familiar with, the Cecil County Public Schools Board of Education budget request for 2014, the PowerPoint, which I know you guys saw. On slide 53, it mentions mentions measures of success education services. Goal 1 says all students will meet or exceed high academic standards. Goal 2 says all students will learn in safe, secure, and inviting environments. Goal 3 says all students will benefit from effective and efficient support and services provided by a learning organization. As far as Rising Sun High School goes, I don't know how you can get any of those goals with the amount of overcrowding, the lack of sinks and running water and counter space in their science classrooms, and the significantly small tech school that really does not allow the kids that need it the most the ability to attend. Thank you for your time.
Armando Villabon and then Jennifer Granger.
Good evening, County Council. My name is Armando Villabon, 80 Billy Goss Loop in Northeast. I'm a relatively new resident to Northeast. I like the area. It's beautiful. We've got nice trails. I am concerned about the cost of living here. I moved here from Pennsylvania, where unfortunately the school tax situation is out of control, and where we also had a lot of problems with regard to public utilities. They actually are rated one of the highest ones. And it's a shame. I believe in education, and I fully endorse this budget, but I want you to also maintain a consideration with regard to, hey, wait a minute, where is this going to go? We don't want the beautiful Death Star floor schools that unfortunately Pennsylvania does have, but we do want to provide a quality education. So I am for the education. Also, I want you to support the library budget. This is important. This is one of those things where people are going to be able to use these resources to further their knowledge and go ahead and build brighter futures. In the technology sector, we need qualified programmers. Next, the wastewater. This is a concern. Just to see the price and the budget, it has me scared. Did I make the right choice in moving here? Is this going to be something we're going to regret down the road? The cost of living was very important when I chose to move here to Cecil County, and I hope you will consider this as you make your decision. Thank you very much, and have a good evening.
Jennifer Granger and then Patty Kubik.
Good evening. Thank you for the opportunity to speak my mind, I guess, here. I've just recently been visiting with the Board of Education, and I just wanted to come here and tell you my own experience. I feel like I've been around for 13 years with children. I have 6 children in the school system right now. My first one's getting ready to graduate. And I'm sorry, my name is Jennifer Granger, and I forgot to give you my address, 140 Bowling Green Lane, Elton. Anyways, so I've went to these board meetings for I don't know how many years, and I've sat there and I've tried to understand everything. I don't understand their job, and I really don't understand like everything you guys gotta go through, but I know I don't wanna do it. But I also want you to know that, you know, when my kids have really needed their teachers, and when they start cutting the teachers, I know there's been many cuts, but when they start cutting the teachers, that really made me concerned, because we can have all this technology, we can have everything else, but if we don't have the teachers, we're kind of hurting, you know? And I understand their safety, and I want to take care of the teachers and all this stuff, but I don't know. I have a son, and he needed a lot more help than some of my other children. And I'm a mother. My job is to teach them to work, teach them to be respectful, teach them, you know, all that stuff that the teachers don't need to teach them. And he could not go to school without crying every day, and this is what these teachers are having to deal with. So I finally got to third grade and I'm like, you know what, you guys, you gotta help me. I don't deal with this, you do. You know, I don't know how to deal with the school situation and everything. And, you know, I couldn't believe how many people were needed to help my child get the education he needed just to get through elementary school. When we went from elementary to middle school, I was just like, there was probably 4 or 5 teachers in there to get him transitioned, because he was under the special education help. And I really thought, you know, with all these teachers being cut, I am concerned, you know, because he's not one of the most needy children out there. And he has a mother that's out there trying to talk to the teachers and make sure he gets the help he needs. And I know not every child has a parent that will do that. And anyway, so basically what it comes down to is I know the school board, and we've been working, you know, a little bit closer on telling them our concerns. We have the superintendent is scheduled to come out to our elementary school to actually visit with the parents on certain questions that they have, because they have been wanting to get more involved to know what is going on in the schools and to get the help that is needed there. And I would continue on my part to let them know how I feel about the parents or the teachers needing to be in the schools so that our children can learn. And I agree with the safety and everything else too, so I'm gonna let you guys go.
Thank you. Patty Kubich and then Laurie Harenko.
Good evening. My name is Patty Kubich. I am the Vice President of the Arts Council. I am here representing the board, staff, and membership of the Cecil County Arts Council. First, I would like to thank you for your past support of the Arts Council and ask you to confirm your support with accepting the proposed budget in support for fiscal year 14. We appreciate the difficult task you have in managing the budget for the county and truly appreciate your generosity in sustaining funds for the Cecil County Arts Council. The Arts Council offers the majority of our own programs free to the public through exhibitions, receptions, the summer music concert series, the open studio tour events, and like last summer's Journey Stories and Melting Pot, sponsored by the Smithsonian Institute. The Arts Council creates countless opportunities for our residents and Cecil County's tourists to experience firsthand the benefits of Cecil County and enhance their quality of life. We do not wish to take up too much of your time, but simply wanted a representative to stand up and say thank you for your continued support.
Laurie Harenko and then Ron Lobos.
Lori Rinko, 604 Green Mountain Circle, Elkton, Maryland. Good evening, Council President Hodge and Council members Bowlesby, Brunel, and McCarthy. I'm going to go off script a second. Sometimes I feel like things are hopeless for my students. There's not always enough family support as I wish. There are a lot of drug and alcohol issues in our county that I don't have to share with you. My students sometimes have significant learning disabilities, and there's not enough of me or other teachers or counselors or therapists to go around. And it's our government's job to support its citizens, whether they're infants to elderly. And in this day and age, people have to have an education or their future will be hopeless. Members of my family have experienced job loss and also mental illness too. And we do need more mental health support facilities and practitioners to support our citizens, not just in Cecil County, but in the whole Eastern Shore region. I'm not going to have these numbers accurate, but I can say that I started teaching in 1997. And my first class was 8th grade physics, and I had 37 students, and that is far too many. I currently have 20 to 25 students. It was stated that we had around 2,200 employees / teachers in 2003, and then that's risen to 250 in, 2050 currently in 2013. What they're missing is that prior to this, about 8 to 10 years ago, we had around 2,200 employees. We've lost about 150 positions. And what that's done is had an impact on our class sizes. Throughout that time, we've gone to full inclusion. And we need more support in our classrooms, not less. Our students need that. We've had more severe needs surface than we've had in the past as well. And if anybody'd like to speak to me about afterwards, I'd be happy to talk to you about that. Back to script. Thank you for this opportunity for our citizens to provide feedback to the proposed FY14 Cecil County budget. I'd like you to know that I'm a homeowner in Elkton. I've been a science teacher at Northeast Middle School since 1997, and I'm also currently president of the Cecil County Classroom Teachers Association. I'm here this evening to ask the council to support the county executive's proposed FY14 budget for Cecil County Public Schools. Good schools and well-educated students not only make a thriving community, they make good business sense as well. Ask any realtor and they'll tell you that one of the main factors in choosing a home location is its school district. The quality of the school district says a lot about a community, even if you don't have children who will be attending as students. A good school says our priority is proactive future building. A good school says to business owners that they will have a ready supply of qualified employees and a steady stream of employed customers. A good school says that students will grow up to be adults who care about their communities and want to give back to make it even better. And a good school says we're preparing our students for a multitude of jobs in a challenging and changing society and in a global economy so that our students can step up not to just be learners but leaders. We want our students to be leaders here in Cecil County, in Maryland, and across the nation and the globe. And that may sound a little ambitious, but I assure you it's not. If it's not our children and our students who step up and take the lead, then who will? Our schools, just like many, are facing challenges, just like many of you. According to our most recent statistics, 40% of our children live in poverty. 14% of our students have special needs. 441 of our students are homeless, and 25% of our student population is transient, moving from one school to another, often more than once in a school year. But I want no less for any of these students, and neither should you. And just as you'd want no less for anyone in your family. In fact, I want the resources that are needed to help these children to succeed, to give them the extra support, time, and resources they need to have a great future with many opportunities. I want all of our students to experience the joy of learning in a safe, secure environment with tools and materials to engage them and prepare them for a bright future. This includes a future with technologies that aren't even developed yet. After all, the missions to the moon were flown with less computer power on board than most of you are carrying around in your cell phones right now. So think of how things will change. The proposed budget includes money to improve broadband infrastructure. You may not know that the new mandated state tests must be taken online. All students testing for a total of up to 8 hours online using dial-up or slow, low-capacity internet is just not an option. Students need access to technology, and that's just the way it is. When I was in school, technology meant a calculator and a reel-to-reel film projector. It's not that way anymore. Some of our school buildings are quite historical, and I'm relieved to see that the proposed budget also helps address some of our aging buildings with the most serious deferred maintenance issues. Our job is to give the students the best education we can, and that education will not only benefit the students but all citizens in the county. We've been tightening our belts, cutting staff, using less and doing without, all in the face of growing challenges, new state and federal curriculum demands, testing and evaluation, and ongoing unfunded mandates. I'd be happy to meet with you or answer any questions you have, and I ask you to fully support the county executive's proposed education budget for Cecil County Public Schools. Thank you.
Thank you. Ron Lobos and then Harlan William.
Ron Lobos, Elkton, Maryland. Originally, I came here to speak about my support for Vice President Al McCarthy's Second Amendment Preservation Resolution. I thought it was going to be voted on this evening, but when I got our agenda, I found out that it wasn't, but it's being introduced for consideration. However, I'd still like to speak about it a little bit.
No, Ron, we're only speaking to the budget and the associated fee increases.
We're not, is
No,
this being
you
put on the
need to come-
agenda
you
for
need to
later
come
tonight
back.
or another meeting?
Yes, it is on the agenda, and you need to come back during public comments.
Which, oh, this is not public comment right now.
No, this is only the budget hearing.
All right.
Harlan William.
Thank you, members of the council. This is the first time that I've had a chance to address your new association. Congratulations to all of you. I will be very brief.
I want to talk about
Harley, would you?
Harlan C. Williams, 166 Little Egypt Road, Glen Farms, Elton, Maryland. I want to speak about the school board budget for a very big reason, and associated with economic development. There's no one in Cecil County that's brought more businesses into Cecil County and locations than we have. Been very fortunate that way. But I want to tell you, and tell everyone, that the first thing that the people who choose a site for a new plant talk about is, what is the school system? Number one. I also want to talk about some things related to property value. Thank you very much for giving me an introduction. She talked about a realtor being concerned. We are concerned because the first thing that people ask us is, what about your school system? And if we don't, I'm so proud of the school system. Many of us have worked with BPAC. And I invite those who don't understand the school system in Cecil County to put your time and effort with BPAC and to learn about how it really operates. I appreciate the work that you all have done in creating this budget, and I see no problems with you passing everything that's on here. I know many of you probably want to do more than's on here. But the one special thing that begins speaking about property values is the old Elton Neck Ridge. That is a very big concern of property values. There's no one in this room that's not concerned about the value of their own home. We all are. So the good schools and doing the proper things in Cecil County are what make me proud to be here. And I congratulate you again for what you've done. I don't know how you've done it with what you have to work with, but stick with the budget that's been presented to you, please. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
That's all who have registered.
Is there anyone else that has not spoken who wishes to speak to the budget and associated budget fees and charges? Hearing none, we will close the public hearing section regarding bill number 2013-03, the annual budget, and the resolution number 15-2013, the adoption of the property tax rate, resolution 16-2013, the capital improvement program, and resolution 17-2013 regarding the proposed disposal fees at the central landfill and the sanitary district. For those that would like to communicate with the council, we'd be happy to receive your calls, your emails, faxes, or any other communication if you have any other thoughts regarding those bills or resolutions. So the matter is not closed until we vote on the budget and associated resolutions on May 21. We'll go into another public hearing regarding resolution number 20-2013, an amendment to the zoning ordinance. Mr. Massey, would you please read the synopsis of this resolution?
Resolution number 20-2013, amendment zoning ordinance home occupations. A resolution to amend the Cecil County zoning ordinance, Article 2, Section 12, definition of basic terms, and Article 5, Part 3, Section 79, home occupations, introduced by the Council President at the request of the County Executive, introduced in order posted on April 2nd, 2013, public hearing scheduled on May 7th, 2013 at 7 p.m.
Mr. Sedgwick, have you done your going? Do you have anything to say?
After an introduction like that, I don't know if I should say anything, but a few brief comments if the council will let me. The purpose of this amendment is to update our language in the zoning ordinance concerning home occupations. Staff has been made aware that our language is dated and anachronistic concerning the realities of the current times in which we live, and that the language in Section 79 and Section 12 defining home occupations needed to be changed to more accurately reflect the situation that individuals find when they try to create home businesses. Consequently, the language is being amended as proposed this evening to remove the requirement that a home occupation be placed in the same building as a residence, and replace it with language that says it must be conducted on the same property as a residence. This has been reviewed by the Planning Commission at their March meeting, March 18th. The Planning Commission has forwarded a recommendation of approval to the County Council.
Thank you. Are there any questions or comments from the County Council members? Hearing none, we'll open it up to the public. Is there anyone in the audience that would like to speak for or against this proposed resolution? If so, please come up to the lectern. State your name and where you live, and please keep it short.
Diane Caravetta, Parker Street, Perryville, Maryland. I recently attended a small business seminar on Post, and anything we can do to help people, home business, I'm completely in favor of it. The biggest problem that people had was financing to set up a place to operate business. So as long as it meets the constraints that you set forth, I'm completely in favor of promoting small business at home. Thanks.
Thank you. Is there anyone else in the audience that would like to speak for or against this particular resolution to amend the zoning ordinance? Okay, and we'll close the public comment section, and we will consider this ordinance on our next meeting of May 14th. Excuse me, May 21st. May 21. Okay, the next item on our agenda is approval of minutes. Meeting minutes for April 16th of 2013 or legislative session day. Is there any corrections or additions to the meeting minutes that were provided to the council? Hearing none, can I have a motion to approve?
I'll move for approval of the minutes of April 16th legislative meeting.
Is there a second? Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor of approving the meeting minutes for the legislative session for April 16th of 2013, signal by saying aye. Aye. The motion passes 4-0. All right, next item is public comments, and I guess we're getting a clipboard with Mr. Massey read the names on the public comment.
Michael Gilbert.
Good evening, my name is Michael Gilbert, live at 63 North Towns Road, Rising Sun. I'd like to speak for our rights for a few moments. In particular, our Second Amendment right. Without that right, we have no other rights because we'll have no way to defend our rights or ourselves. Our state has chosen a path that goes against that United States Constitution, and we have a resolution that's going to go before us here in the coming weeks, and I urge you all to support that because that's the right step to send a clear message to Annapolis and Washington, D.C. that we will not be walked upon and we will not stand for our rights to be stolen away. I gave the council president some literature there, a copy of an article I'd like you all to read, where federal laws that we have in place are on a daily basis ignored. Eric Holder, our U.S. Attorney General, has made some ignorant comments about the statements, but as you can see in there, excuse me, there are prescribed sentences for each violation of the law, and there are consequences for those laws not being enforced directly. One consequence is the situation we had in Newtown, Connecticut. The young man that committed that heinous crime could have been prevented if the ATF would have acted at least one time when he was denied a weapons purchase. He was denied actually twice, and the ATF at that moment, during the instant background check, could have called local authorities and had that man apprehended and charged. I'm not sure what the sentence is for that, but I'm sure there'd been enough time to keep him from obtaining a weapon. He went forward with his plan and chose to steal a weapon. And that's one of the ones in here for possessing a stolen weapon and committing a violent or a felony with it. The main thing is that we take steps to protect those rights. And I'm proud to see, as a Cecil County resident, the resolution that's in place, because that's a very clear thing that we can do. I volunteer work for the Natural Resource Police for approximately 3 to 4 years as a reserve officer. It's a little different than this program, but I think this is a step in the right direction. And I just urge everybody to support your council members and the president in that resolution. Thank you.
Thank you.
Donna Cadill.
Donna Caldell, Elkton, Maryland, and I also would like to support Councilman McCarthy's resolution that is up for a vote this evening. It's Resolution 38, 2013, Opposition Maryland Firearm Safety Act. And I just want to thank him for taking the initiative to protect the Second Amendment, and I hope that you all join him in voting to approve this resolution. And also I want to mention that at our next Cecil County Patriots meeting, we will be having a town hall on the Second Amendment. It's going to be Thursday, June 6th from 7 to 8:30 right here in this room. And participants on the panel will be Dan Bongino, Delegate Don Dwyer, Commissioner Richard Rothschild, Sheriff Mike Lewis, and a representative from Institute on the Constitution. And the panel will be moderated by Andrew Langer, President for Institute for Liberty. So I invite everybody, and I have extra flyers. Thank you.
Kathy O'Connell.
Kathleen O'Connell, Elkton, Maryland. I would also like to just thank Dr. McCarthy for his efforts in putting together the resolution that he's done and encourage all of you to support that. We need to support our Second Amendment rights in this county and do it the correct way. I appreciate that. Thank you, Dr. McCarthy.
Thank you.
Ron Bovis. Joe Carabetta.
Thank you, Joe Carabetta. I will try to be brief, but sometimes it's difficult. While we're talking about Second Amendment, I too commend the work you're doing. As I think President Hodge said last week, this is only I hope it's only a start, and I hope that you consider other language as it becomes, as you study it. I mean, this thing kind of got foisted on us by Annapolis, but that we make the language more stronger and put some teeth in it. But the Second Amendment is and I think you should all take a stand. I think it'd be a strong statement, if you're not already, to have every member of this council sign up and be a life member in the NRA. I've noticed some other issues that have been running around in the paper, and I know there was one about you're going to be considering whether there's going to be prayer before a meeting. I think the answer is simple. And if each of you reach in your pocket, take out a coin or some of our thing, and on that coin it says, "In God we trust," there's your answer. Okay? There's no other debate on that. Let's see. As far as the bridge, I didn't want to waste my time because I wanted to address the thing on it. But as far as the bridge out there, you know, originally I didn't think it was the right thing to do, but I think now it's the right thing because there's going to be a winery down there, and that way some of the traffic coming from the winery will go up towards Elkton, and it'll all be on Route 272, and I think that would improve my safety when I travel down that to 13 Point Lighthouse. But I think in all seriousness that all bridges in the county should not just be a bridge. There's other areas in the county because of our geographic state in the county with a lot of peninsulas and stuff that need improvement and need to be repaired. All bridges should be open and all roads should be reopened. Any road that's been closed should be reopened to give full access to the citizenry of the county. Let's see. Oh, and the other thing was I know there was debate about what lawyers to use for the council and for the county executive. I'm all okay with using the same lawyer as long as you're not in anything that could be of conflict. But anything that could even have a hint of conflict or a hint of impropriety between the council and the county executive, I think it's absolutely imperative that you have separate attorneys. And I strongly urge you to take such action in that matter. Not that I want to see us spend money on attorneys, but sometimes it's necessary. Thank you and good evening.
Thank you.
Jackie Gregory.
Good evening, Jackie Gregory, Elkton, Maryland. And I also want to thank Councilman McCarthy for taking the lead in addressing the infringement on our Second Amendment by the state and proposing a resolution in support of the right to keep and bear arms. This is a strong resolution which addresses the things which are within the power of the council to do to protect the Second Amendment. I know there is another proposal on the floor, I guess it will be brought up tonight, which is much longer, which addresses what other governmental branches or other governmental agencies should do. However, the council has no authority or jurisdiction to tell the judicial branch, the state's attorney, or the local sheriff how they should operate. Our founders wisely established a government with a separation of powers under the Constitution, and legislation that comes from our council should respect that. While I believe that all of our governmental bodies should resist unconstitutional state laws such as the Maryland Firearms Safety Act of 2013, entities such as judges, the sheriff, and state's attorney are elected by the people and accountable to them, not to another government entity like the council. Including a laundry list of wishes of the council regarding things they have no power over diminishes the statements regarding those things over which they do have control. A question was asked today at the work session regarding what gives this resolution teeth. For those who may have heard things about the resolution or received a robocall about it, but have not yet read it for themselves, I will read a few portions which give this resolution teeth. I'm going to read from the original version, although that Dr. McCarthy submitted, although I know the council was advised to make a few changes. I will address those changes after. The resolution reads, whereas the Cecil County Council recognizes that the Maryland Firearms Safety Act of 2013 violates the Second Amendment to the United States Constitution, and whereas the undersigned council members took an oath to support and defend the United States Constitution, now therefore be it hereby resolved that the County Council of Cecil County, Maryland deems the Maryland Firearms Safety Act of 2013 to be invalid legislation, and be it further resolved that the County Council of Cecil County, in recognition of the Second Amendment rights of the citizens of Cecil County, herein affirms that the Cecil County government will not authorize or appropriate government funds, resources, employees, agencies, contractors, buildings, detention centers, or offices for the purpose of enforcing any element of the Maryland Firearms Safety Act of 2013. Adding a bunch of things in this which are outside the power of the council to enact does not give it more teeth, and in my opinion will make it more toothless. However, citizens must realize that no piece of paper that this council passes has teeth regardless of what it says. The teeth to any resolution or law rests in the citizens and their actions. I support the council making the strongest statement possible within the powers that have been delegated to them by the Constitution, and Dr. McCarthy's proposal does that. It succinctly and completely addresses the things the council can and will do in response to unconstitutional gun control legislation. I have one concern that I hope the council will address. I know that there was some suggestions made to amend some of the language. Most of the changes do not significantly alter the meaning of the original language, which I just read, with the exception of lines 17 to 20 of the original, which say that the county will not authorize or appropriate county resources for the purpose of implementing the Maryland Firearms Safety Act of 2013. It was suggested that the council strike that and replace it with weaker language, which I think is unnecessary. The local government has the power of the purse to allocate funds, and that is not something that should be compromised or relinquished to the state. That aspect of Dr. McCarthy's original resolution is one of its strengths. Local taxpayers should not be forced to pay to implement this law. If the state wants this, let them figure out how to pay for it. I urge you to keep the original language proposed by Dr. McCarthy in lines 17 to 20 regarding not using local tax dollars to fund the Maryland Firearms Safety Act of 2013. Thank you.
Thank you.
Diane Carabetta.
Diane Carabetta, Perryville, Maryland, still there. I wanted to, just share a few things. On Friday, we had the opportunity to attend First Fridays in Havre de Grace, which was awesome, and I know Diana, you were instrumental in really getting the ball rolling with that, and it's an incredible thing, and it just shows how much tourism can bring spin-off to the economy, because we were there, our neighbors were there, we didn't know they were going, we just happened to run into them. We all ended up eating out at dinner, feeding the economy over there, which was just great, and they had a lot of things to do. And then on Saturday, I had the opportunity to go to the sheep and yarn show, which, I mean, I was laughing when I heard this, but there were thousands of people there. And I said, wow, Cecil County could draw in people like that. And I think we could. We just need to focus on what we're good at. And it's a win-win situation. It's a win for those people that don't have jobs, that need jobs, that can be creative. And it's a win for us and our economy and our restaurants and all of the spin-off to that. I do support the Second Amendment resolution, and I'm not going to limit myself to just supporting one. I would say that after hearing Rothschild speak, that there's room for additions to other resolutions as well. And I completely agree with Jackie Gregory's assertion of the separation of power between the branches of government. In upcoming, we have, and this should be the same for the legislative and executive branches. And the upcoming proposal to allow the county executive, the executive branch, to call the legislative branch into session is just in clear violation of our constitutional rights. After all, the president does not call Congress into session, and we should not secede our rights. That's why we have the legislative branch and an executive branch. So I completely agree with Jackie on the separation of power of the branches of government. Thank you.
Thank you. There are no more. All right, has everyone spoken that wanted to speak?
I'd like to speak. I'm Jeannie Miller from Rising Sun, Maryland. I just wanted to let you know that I'm also behind you on the president. But you put in, and my background is a little different. I'm a widow. I've been a widow for 2.5 years, and I have shotguns and pistols at home. And I just feel more secure for that reason. I've also been Maryland Lady State Champ at sporting clays for 4 years. So I definitely want to keep my gun. I was a hunter, and I still like that my children and grandchildren will be able to do the same thing. And if we let them take our guns slowly by piece, we won't have that right. And I will definitely be behind you with whatever way I can to help stop them from stopping our rights as far as that Second Amendment.
Thank you. Did I see one more hand?
Thank you. I just wanted to wrap up one thing and add 2 more, since everybody brought up some good discussion. It was mentioned that there's a 900 student drop in enrollment. And what I'd like to share is that 900 students wasn't all from one place. We can't just say close Leeds Elementary. We have 30 schools plus our alternative school, and so if you take 30 schools and take the 900 students, it's about 30 students. You know, it's not on average from each school. So you can't really just even shut a classroom because it's sprinkled throughout the kindergarten through, 5th grade in the elementary, 6th to 8 in middle school, and then all the high school courses. So you can't just really pull one teacher or shut down the building for that 900 student loss. As to the prayer before a meeting, I attend Elkton Presbyterian Church. I've been on the board of deacons and actively involved. With that being said, I'm very respectful of other people that don't share my religion, and we have members of this community that are Muslim, Buddhist, and all sorts of other things. My grandmother and I have lots of conversations, and she says that the problem with education today is we need to bring prayer back in school, and I simply tell her, Grandma, whose prayers? My other grandmother was Catholic. There's a difference there. So it's a slippery slope with that. And as the wastewater treatment plant, my grandfather was a plasterer and a master builder, and measure twice, cut once, measure 5 times, cut once, however many times you need to measure. But it sounds like the research has been done and they've listened to experts. So I would ask that in this issue as well and all the others, that you go with the expert opinion, not the layperson.
Thank you. I saw one hand in the very, very back.
Tillman Mason, Northeast Maryland. I just wanted to take a opportunity here and I support what the Councilman McCarthy's doing, and I would like to see. I've read some of the verbiage here. I think one version is a little bit wordy, but I think we need to stand together, and we need the council to back us up. We need a strong resolution in the county opposing this unconstitutional law that the state legislature has passed and has been signing the law. And I'd just like to support the county council and work in a very strongly worded and enforced resolution so that we can keep our Second Amendment rights.